How's the old saying go? It's better to be lucky than to actually be good. And that's pretty much how it goes, isn't it? I mean, come on, Bears fans. Let's be real here for a second. You could delude yourself into thinking something other than what actually is reality. But nonetheless, heading into this game on Thursday night, I did not have wild expectations of the Bears and certainly did not expect them to find a way to pull out the victory. Looking at the performance that they had Sunday against the Colts, coming back on a short week, not seeing where you have a whole lot of time for Foles and the offense to get better, and now they're facing another good team in the Buccaneers that have won 3 games in a row themselves. There wasn't a whole lot of reason for optimism, to be clear. And let's also be clear that early on in this game, it did not look good. Like you had kind of the Bears Twitter media talking about the old, oh, at least on the opening drive, they only held the Bucs to 3 instead of giving up a touchdown. But yeah, that's kind of a problem too, because eventually they will start giving up touchdowns on those drives. They're not an elite defense. Stop pretending like they are. Stop trying to make goddamn excuses for them. And also the whole thing about the defense is, especially with the performance for the vast majority of the first half, is as much as you want to blame the offense, you want to talk about symbiotic relationship, there is something to that. I would agree that the ineptitude of the mediocrity of the flat-out suck of that Bears offense, eventually does drain on a defense and it wears on the team, and it just that whole mindset, that mediocrity mindset, does seep into the rest of the organization, rest of the locker room, rest of the team. I get that. But it's still a highly paid unit with a ton of talent, and they should be better. And don't kid yourselves. The Bears' defense still needs to play better. They do. Now, early on, they sure as hell didn't. It's not like Brady was all types of surgical all over the place on them. But as I talked about in one of the keys to this game was the Buccaneers deploying Ronald Jones, on the ground because the Bears have struggled to stop teams running the ball this year. I think that's where the loss of Eddie Goldman, due to him opting out for COVID concerns, has impacted this defensive unit for sure. And it's one factor of many as to why this defense is not the same as what you saw a couple of years ago. They're just not that strong up the middle, and they're much more vulnerable against the run. And early on, you can see that. Rojo was making people miss, and you had Roquan Smith blowing tackles, like showing that great kind of top 10 pick form that you would expect out of a Ryan Pace guy. Good Lord Almighty. And you're sitting there and you're looking, and all of a sudden, a little bit before the end of the second quarter, the Bears finally get a little momentum, and they score a touchdown. And you're saying, okay, now you're talking about this game has changed a little bit potentially. Like the real momentum shift in this entire game, let's be clear here, was the Kyle Fuller hit. Not only was it a big attitude statement type of play to dislodge the receiver from the ball in the violent manner with which he did, but then to have the fortunate break of it actually being a catch and a fumble with a clear recovery by the Bears. You see how easy that is, James Anderson? Now we're going back in the day a little bit. A clear recovery. Play through the damn whistle. That was the moment that this game changed. Because you're talking about the first 25 minutes plus or so of this game. This did not look good. This looked like this was going to be a bad beatdown by the Bucs on the Bears in Soldier Field on Thursday night. Yet another big-time Brady performance, and Bruce Arians is trying to rub salt in the wounds early on in the game. He's going for it on 4th and inches from his own 20-damn-yard line. Bruce Arians wants this game really bad. He wants to send a message, and I can't blame him. I'd be pissed if I was him, too. I wanted to coach the Bears. I was ready to come to the Bears, and they decided they wanted bum-ass CFL Mark Trestman instead. So you have so many things pointing in the advantage of the Buccaneers, and all of a sudden you get that one big play, and all of a sudden, before you know it, you turn around, the Bears are up at freaking halftime. What the hell is going on here? But you're thinking okay, Bears get the ball first in the third quarter, haven't done shit in the third quarter all year, haven't scored a single point in the third quarter of any of their first 4 games. It got a little momentum here, though. A couple of touchdowns the last few minutes of the second quarter after, of course, not doing a damn thing in the first quarter where we've seen that song and dance before. In the third quarter, they got to be able to do something. And, of course, they didn't. But in the second half, to their credit, the defense certainly stepped up and played better. They made some big plays when they needed to, and kept this team in the game. Because God knows you can't count on this offense to do a whole hell of a lot on a consistent basis. That's for damn sure. And it got, towards the end of the game, it's kind of nut-cutting time. You realize that with everything that's happened, the Bears have a chance to win. Even though the second to last offensive possession the Bears had was a disaster, you almost had Foles throw a really bad pick, and then you had the courage of Bobby Massey and Charles Leno to be both of them turnstiles at the tackle positions and just let the pass rush get to Foles. You're sitting there and you're looking at it, they get the ball back, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, you got a couple of minutes left of the game. You got the ball. All you need is a field goal. God, please get it close enough so Cairo Santos can actually be trusted to hit it. And they did. Like, the offensive play of the game has to be the throw to David Montgomery on that wheel route. There was another key to the game that I talked about for the Bears, is that Matt Nagy seems to be allergic to committing to consistently running the ball at any point in time. But you can sit there and attack the Buccaneers a little bit with the running backs out of the backfield, and that's a way to potentially get Montgomery and even Patterson involved in the offense and get some rhythm and flow going for them. And lo and behold, there were a couple plays there throughout the night, and that was the big play. That was the game changer, because that comes on a critical third down, and all of a sudden now you're moving the ball, you're getting into field goal range, and eventually you get the field goal. Santos actually made the 38-yard, and you're sitting there saying, holy crap, the Bears are up. We got about 1:13 left on the clock, except for one problem. While they have no timeouts, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers offense has 1:13 left with no timeouts, but still 1:13 left, and they only need to get a field goal. Like, as a Bears fan, you can't really be feeling good about it, and I know I certainly wasn't feeling good watching it. Like, to me, this just felt like a inevitability. That's why they play the game. No matter how much history would indicate it's going to go one way for you, it ends up going another. Like, here's what I can't understand for the life of me. Like, I understand if a bum ass has a brain fart. I understand that. And I understand that even great players, legends, icons, can be prone to have brain farts. But when you're talking about the goats of all-time NFL quarterbacks, sitting there at the end of the game, after his fourth down throw falls incomplete, sitting there and saying, it's fourth down now. Like, now it's fourth down, right? Like, how in the hell does Tom Brady, TB12, apparently your workout regimen and your diet aren't helping with the senility and the CTE, whatever the hell's going on up there? How the hell do you lose track of the downs? How do you lose track of the game situations? Maybe that impacted your decision because you thought it was third down that you would throw deeper down the field instead of hitting Vaughn over the middle where it looked like he potentially could have gotten the first down. Like, that's just befuddling. That's just stunning to see that level of brain fartedness from a legend and icon, a first ballot Hall of Famer like Tom Brady. I guess Father Time is truly undefeated because TB12 lost his damn mind. And lo and behold, won't you know, the Bears end up holding on to win 2019. That's the final score. I don't even know at this point. Like, it just feels all hazy and foggy. Man, I'm telling you, this has got peak 2001 vibes written all over it. It really does. This is the type of game that this team has no business winning, and yet they found a way to win. Nick Foles is the Jim Miller. That's what he is. He's not great. He's not even very good. He just has enough flashes where he can make just enough plays at enough key times to keep you in it and give you a chance to win. They can't run the ball like the 2001 team could, mind you. A-Train James Allen days. So for a lot of you that are probably watching this video, you're too damn young to even remember that 13-3 squad. This just makes me old. But then you would have the defense that would come up with the big play or the big stop, and there would be some type of lucky bounce, lucky break, lucky call, some type of gimmick, some type of trick. There was always something week in and week out that year, unless it was a 17-9 loss to the Ravens in week 1 and the 2 losses to the Packers. Like, every other game on the schedule that year, they won. But the whole time, you're just sitting there and you're knowing that, damn, this team, on one hand, feels like a team of destiny, but on the other hand, they're really not that good. and eventually those chickens are going to come home to roost. And I know a lot of you Bears fans are going to sit there and say, hey man, stop being negative, stop crapping all over my parade, a win's a win, and they are 4-1. They're in a great spot, and they have a greater than 80% chance to make the playoffs, and all of that is true. Hey, look, coming into the season, a guy like me saying they were going to finish something like 6-10, like 4-1, my pick isn't looking good right now. I got to admit, they've taken advantage of an early soft-ass schedule. Some teams that they played, like the Lions and Falcons, absolutely gagging on themselves in the fourth quarter. But sometimes good teams win games they have no business winning, and perhaps it's the argument you can make. You throw back my old logic in front of me. Well, then sometimes you just get freaking lucky, and you get all the breaks to go your way. And to me, that's more of what this looks like. Hats off to the Bears defense for stepping up in the second half and playing more closely like the elite defense that a lot of people allege them to be that they're not. That was a good performance. And again, it was defensively that hit by Kyle Fuller that forced the fumble, that put the Bears in position, short field there to get that second touchdown right before the half. That was a game changer. You talk about other things, but the reason the Bears won this game today was because of that. And I think it may be in part, as a Bears fan, all Bears fans, we're just going to have to get used to this year a little bit. This is going to be a season where you don't really feel that good about most or any of the wins. Once you get past kind of the marky dopey, they got to keep on. The really satisfied, vindicating type of wins. You're probably not going to see a lot of those this year. It's going to be a lot of those at moments, what the hell is the defense doing? They're missing tackles. They can't cover anybody. Then you look at the offense and you say, Matt Nagy, your play calling is stupid. Why in the hell on second down are you throwing the fade route there? Especially when you got Jimmy Graham open over the middle. Could have been a first down. That stopped the clock. You could talk about the lack of commitment to even trying to establish a running game, the lack of commitment to trying to establish any type of offensive identity whatsoever, the lack of willingness to really do anything to kind of mix it up. For a guy that was doing so many crazy things in year one of his head coaching career, last year plus, he's just been vanilla as shit. And then Nick Foles has those moments where he looks like an absolute buster. He looks like trash. He looks like walking, talking 2020 Rick Meyer incarnate bad. But then he has those moments that he reminds you of like Jimmy Mack, where he can make the big throws into the big spots and make spectacular plays happen. It's going to be a roller coaster. So what happens when you don't have a great quarterback? So what happens when you don't have a great set of offensive talent around the said quarterback? So what happens when your offensive line is playing like absolute shit? It's what happens when your defense kind of yo-yos from one series to the next. This is going to be a roller coaster of a season. You have to strap in and buckle up, folks, because it's not going to get a whole lot better. You can be excited about the 4-1, and hey, 4-1 is a lot better than 3-2. 4-1 certainly puts them on a great trajectory to make the playoffs. It gives them a lot better feelings and momentum with the 10 days off to prepare for Carolina next Sunday. So if you were asking every Bears fan right now out there, that's not like me necessarily and just thinking about the big picture of this is not a Super Bowl contending team. They do not have a long-term answer at quarterback. This is the ultimate fear that I had coming in this year, and I tried to put the Jeff jinx on these cocksuckers because I was afraid this was going to happen. They're going to be like a 10, 11 win team, and they'll make the playoffs, and they don't do shit. And then everybody gets extensions, and then it just makes the problem worse, just kicks the can down the road. But for a lot of you coming into this year that, had kind of deluded yourselves into thinking this is still a Super Bowl caliber team, or maybe you thought 2019 was a fluke, 2020 will be better. Like if I had told you coming into this year before the season started that, hey, after 5 weeks, the Bears will be 4-1. Would you take that? Every single one of you would. And probably, frankly, the Chicago Bears would. And I can't blame them. The old Bill Parcells saying of your record, you are what your record says you are. Yes, sometimes that's true. And to a degree it is, but sometimes it's certainly not. But the reality is the Chicago Bears are 4-1. You recognize that number, Tom? That is 4. That means you get 4 downs, a first down, a second down, a third down, and a fourth down. If you do not gain a combined total of 10 yards in those first 4 downs, you do not get a second fourth down. You're not taking on Missouri circa 1991 here. You don't get a 5th down, Tom. It's 4 downs, 10 yards, or you're out. Bears win, and a lot of you are probably bearing down on your wankers tonight. Enjoy it. You know what? enjoy it. 4-1 is 4-1 after all.